so that we may upset people. I mean, the last thing that we should do in this House is restrict ourselves from what we say. I think at all times we have to be able to be honest, say the things that could be worse, and be prepared to speak of the worst consequences, because only if we debate in an informed and a transparent fashion will we get good decision making. This is certainly an unusual political scenario, and for someone who's new to the House, isn't something that I thought would be on the card so soon, but speaking really in favour and in support of an announced banking restructuring, which is really what is being debated today. And I will pick up just two things on some of the contributions from the fine people here on my left, is that it is about bank restructuring and how we see the future of the banks operating, how many banks, what the staffing levels, what capital requirements they have, which wasn't addressed in your contributions. And that is really what needs to be discussed, is what kind of banking sector we want, and what we can survive and what is possible to do. We have seen over the last number of years Fianna Fáil taking half measures on everything, and I think the consensus of the House is that that needs to change, and that is certainly what this government is intending to do. And it is intended to have decisive action on the future structures of the bank, and to minimise taxpayer losses. The banking landscape in reality is completely torched. It's like a scorched earth. There were many banks operating, but they're all gone. The capital has been debased. There are skeletons of some banks which are still operating, but they're not functioning in any way, shape or form that could be seen to be a healthy banking system. And something needed to be done, because that's not purely from a banking point of view, but from a business point of view and from people's personal finance. There is a huge sense of confusion over the future of the banks. We still have people, and we all have constituents who call us with concerns about whether their money in the bank is safe, whether the loans that they have are properly in order, whether their mortgage and house and the deeds to their properties is all in safe. So we need to put that to an end and create a banking system and a banking structure that is free from unease and free from suspicion, which clearly we have. There will be two banks, two state banks, the pillar banks are being called, centred on Allied Irish Banks and on Bank of Ireland, which will be in competition with each other, which I think is an important aspect of this, because we don't want to go back to a duopoly. But we also are lucky in that there are some foreign state banks, I know Rabobank for instance, which are operating as well, which will also help to provide competition in the area which isn't there. I suppose it should be realised that the structure has changed so dramatically. Bank of Scotland is gone, Anglo-Irish Bank is gone, and Irish Nationwide is gone. So there is a need for that restructuring now, sooner rather than later. I will pick up Deputy MacDonald on her comments, which she said this morning, I think at question time, and in the debate previously, that 24 billion again has been put into the banks. That's not true, it's not the case. There was an announcement made last week of the capital requirements of those banks, not how much money was put in. There was no money put in. There's already, as the government has indicated, that €6 billion of that will come from subordinated debt holders. So already, if you were to be honest, you would say 18 billion in your public contributions, and that some of that capital requirement will be met by the selling of assets from those institutions. And the government is still in negotiations with its European partners to see what is another way of addressing those capital requirements. I think to quote the government has said that there will be no burning of senior bondholders in the pillar banks, and that is what is on the record. Because if we're being honest about it, if we do expect those banks to have a reputation, an international reputation, to be able to go back out in the near future onto the markets to raise capital, it's going to be very difficult if just months or years previously they've burned a whole load of investors in their banks. It simply won't work that way. That's not how business works, and it's not how banking works, I'm afraid. What I would say is that, it's been mentioned, and I actually have to disagree. I hate the expression "we are where we are." I don't like it. I think that we need to use different ones. We are where we are for a reason, and the reason is that this state, back in September 2008, approved a banking guarantee which linked the sovereign debts of this country to the banking debt, and there was a consensus on it. We had the I'll conclude shortly, Ken Corley. We have, and Sinn Féin can't walk away from that and say to change the record, because that is true. As your finance spokesperson said, this bill is in the national interest. There are other issues which could be used, Ken Corley. How much time have I, Ken Corley?
You're just up now.
Just up. I would say that the future of the banking, and I'll conclude on this, Ken Corley, there is scope for a much greater depth of changing the banking system in terms of corporate governance, corporate social responsibility, and the skill set of the people who work in the banks. And I would hope that that would occur as part of that reorganisation. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you very much.